Today we have Mark Strodtman, independent health insurance broker advisor, as our guest on the podcast today.
Thank
Mark,
you.
welcome, man.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for coming
Tom.
by.
Thank you for inviting me. I
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
We'll say this in a few minutes, but throughout the podcast, but if you could give a way for our listeners to get in contact with you.
Sure. The simplest way is just to call my cell phone. My personal cell phone, 636-352-5202.
Okay. So, Mark, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about something about yourself and how you got into the world of selling health insurance?
Well, nobody wakes up one day and says, "Hey, I want to sell health insurance. I want to go at it like a hard broker," and nobody does that. So I was actually a nurse for 30 years.
Okay.
I worked in all kinds of areas. Spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury rehab for 5 years. That was really my groundbreaking and awakening into nursing, and we did all kinds of things there.
Nice.
Got into home health care after 5 years. I did home health care for about 8 years. Worked in different venues, high school nursing. I was the Head Start health director for a little bit. Psychiatric nursing for adolescents, drug and alcohol rehab. So I've kind of been that gamut. And I worked in my own diabetic eye clinic, photographing the retina for diabetes patients to help them prevent from going blind. And I worked basically it was built out of the Oklahoma eye center there down in Oklahoma City. So
awesome.
That was pretty cool. And then my last job was in marketing, and just abruptly lost my job after 2 years of really building the business.
Yeah, I was going to say, how'd you get into health insurance?
Well, I was doing marketing. We grew the home healthcare company really well, number two really in St. Louis with Big Barns. And then my director came up to me. His name was Scott, and he said, "Mark, you're not going to have a job after Tuesday.
Oh man,
this last Friday really is going to be your last paperwork day and all that." And he goes, "By the way, I'm losing my job next Friday."
Oh.
And I hate that, but that's the bosses and the owners have just decided to do something different in a different direction with the business. And I was like, "Scott, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't." And I was in a network meeting one time, and I told a lady, her name was Christina, who ended up being my manager. I said, "Christina, I think I'm going to need some health insurance. Come on Monday." And she said, "I thought you were about ready to say you'd like to come and work with me."
Oh.
And I was like, wow. I was 56 at the time, and nobody wanted to hire a, graying hair guy. Nobody wanted to hire me.
Sure.
And it took me literally, Tom, about 18 months to go from a nursing kind of a background and where I was really literally caring for patients and understanding what they were going through to selling health insurance. It took me about 18 months to kind of transition mentally into that.
Yeah.
And kind of finally one day I came to kind of a meeting point and said, well, one, nobody's going to hire you at this point. And two, this life will give you some freedom, some choices, and you can really use your background knowledge to help people explain to them and help them understand health insurance.
Okay.
I had to learn the hard way that it is a most not favorite topic for people.
Yeah.
People hate health
sexy.
Insurance. It's like, get away from me. So I try to bring some levity to the situation. And
it's about as sexy as mortgages.
That and accounting is just not fun. So I at least try to bring a little bit of a lighthearted mood to the situation. I listen to people. I listen to both what they're telling me and what they're not telling me. And then use my nursing background to just kind of say, hey, I think this plan would be the best kind of plan for you.
Okay. Why is it beneficial for people who are looking for health insurance to work with a broker like yourself?
That's a really good question. And, you can call directly United Healthcare. You can call directly Anthem. The problem is they only have the products that they sell, right? I love United Healthcare, but they only have the products that they can sell. With a broker, you have a lot of choices. Also, you won't get 100 phone calls. You won't get 500 phone calls.
Okay.
If you go to healthcare.gov, which I appreciate, but if you go there and you put in your name, email, and phone number, you're going to get about 300 phone calls.
Really?
Yeah. And I've had clients who've learned that the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
When they call me directly, I'm a no pressure kind of a guy, and I just like to again, take some time to listen to their situation and allow them to make some choices between a couple of options if they have that available.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So with the most people ever turning 65 soon, what should people know about Medicare?
Boy, what a big hot topic right now. First of all, know that it is daunting. It can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be when you
Okay.
work with a broker who's been doing it for a while. I've been doing this now for 7 years, and I listen more to what their lifestyle is, quite honestly. I listen to, yes, their financial opportunity to either get in to stick with traditional Medicare and get a Medicare supplement and a Plan D, or do they need a Medicare Advantage plan? What a lot of people think is Medicare Advantage plans are just free, just all the time. And the premium can be. And the government doesn't even let us say they're free. They let us say it's a zero premium, right? That's what they have to tell us.
Gotcha.
So it's not free. So it's a zero premium. And you do have copays, right? You have copays when you see your doctor and things like that. You have to, pay the deductible and co-insurance when you go into a hospital. Medicare Advantage plans in general, you have to pay the first 20% if you're diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that if you do get a Medicare Advantage plan, you at least look at a Medicare or a cancer, heart attack and stroke product.
Okay.
And with that, upon first diagnosis, you'd get a lump sum. It can be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So you really want to explore that option when you look at Medicare Advantage plans. I prefer Medicare supplements. When I did home health care, we loved it when somebody handed us their traditional Medicare card and a Medicare supplement.
Yeah.
And the reason that is because under a Medicare Advantage plan, you need to get authorization for a little over 70% of the procedures.
Okay.
With a Medicare supplement and traditional Medicare, the doctor orders, what you need, and pretty much that's it. You don't have to prove to anybody initially, at least, why you are getting the home health care visits or the procedure or whatever. Now, the people who are performing those things, the home health care nurse and the people performing those things, do need to provide that documentation to Medicare, and of course, that supports that need for that. But initially, you just get it taken care of. So in Medicare, traditional Medicare and Medicare supplement, your healthcare choices are between you and your doctor. And with a Medicare Advantage plan, it's literally a team of people behind the wall guiding your care.
Gotcha.
So you have to be comfortable following those choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does a person decide if traditional Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan is best for them?
Right. So we look at income. I do look at lifestyle. For people who are independent-minded, for people who don't like other people guiding their choices, they like to make the decision with their doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I look at, hey, can you afford, $200, $300, $400 a month, buying the supplement, buying the Plan D, paying your Part B premium, things like that. So I take a look at that. And then if people can't afford that, and if they have some health issues, then we look at a Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay. Well, let's talk about health insurance for the under 65 population.
Right. So
I bet there are a lot of preconceived notions out there for them.
There are. So most people are familiar with their workplace plan. It's like they pay the premium, they sign up once a year,
Right.
and then basically they just forget about it.
Yeah.
They go to their doctor 1 or 2 times a year. Here's a copay, and they don't have to worry about it. And those are great. I'm glad group plans are available. There are situations, of course, Tom, when group plans are not available to people. And what we look at is right now we have availability for short-term plans. In the state of Missouri, we have a couple of carriers where you can write a 12-month plan. And then I have actually a unique opportunity to help people out who are sole proprietors, 1099s, contracted individuals. And we have a very unique product built for them. It's called America's Choice. And it comes with copays right out of the gate. It is an underwritten product where you have to answer no to 11 questions, but once you do, it becomes an ACA compliant plan, and so it covers all the ACA required things that you need to do, the colonoscopy and everything else, mammogram and all that, and then it's also guaranteed reissue, and there's also no limit on it. So a lot of plans have a $500,000, $1 million limit. and this one doesn't.
Oh, wow.
It's an ACA compliant plan. It's much like, in some aspects, of course, like you're getting an Obamacare plan.
Okay.
But it's with a nationwide PPO versus Obamacare, which is an EPO, exclusive provider organization, where you are limited in your networks.
So aside from workplace insurance, what kinds of individual options are available?
Yeah. So again, we're looking at short-term plans. We're looking at Obamacare. And when I was working as a nurse, the big boy companies were able to terminate a client's, enrollment when, they got cancer, when they had a significant illness. They're
Really?
saying, you know what, we'll take you to the end of your term plan year, but then you're getting cut off because you're costing us a lot of money.
Wow.
And for things like that, that's why ACA, the Obamacare plans, and Marketplace, they're all the same thing. That's why they were invented, and created. And as a clinician, I was really glad. I was very glad for that because now we're able to take care of people who have some significant illnesses, people who can't really afford sometimes higher price plans. Obamacare is a great option for them.
Is it?
It is still a good idea, even though you can call the Marketplace yourself. It's still a good idea to work with a broker, because every year I come across about 5 to 7 people who have made a bad decision in Obamacare.
Okay.
They've had to learn the hard way that their doctor is not in network, that they won't take that particular plan. And so it's a good idea to talk to a broker to understand what your options are and where you can go.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And you mentioned there's other options. What are those?
Right. So that's the short-term plan, and then that's the plan that we have specifically called America's Choice for individual sole proprietors. And then I do group plans as well. So
okay. Some of my listeners may be business owners with a few or maybe even several or many employees. Can you share with them important things to know about group health insurance?
Well, group health insurance is it can be a sticky wicket. But one of the things that most business owners are familiar with is just what's called a fully insured plan. So fully insured plans, you fill out an application. Yes, you tell them a little bit about your medical history, but your premium's typically not based on your health history. Yes, it's based on your zip code and your age for the group that you're writing, but they will take you no matter what your health issue is. With that said, that premium is going to be considerably higher.
Gotcha.
So that might be $500, $600, $700 per person per month. We have underwritten plans, which most business owners, quite honestly, are not aware of. And those plans we can write for typically starting out at about $400 to $500 per month. And they have to be a healthy group, right? But once you enroll and you get set up with that, then it's a fantastic plan. I've written a few of those, several actually, and still have a few of those on the books. Sometimes business owners make different changes and want to do something else. But one of the cool things about those are called level funded plans. At the end of your plan term, claim year, you can actually maybe get some of your money back if you haven't used all of your claim money. So your premium goes into basically 3 buckets. It goes into the cost of insurance, administration, and claims. And so as you're putting money as one payment, but as some of that money goes into the claims bucket, if you've had a good and healthy year, you can actually get some of your premium back.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
It is cool. Most business owners don't even know about that.
Yeah. So is there an open enrollment with short-term plans?
So with short-term plans, there's not. That's a great question because I get asked that a lot. Of course, there is with Obamacare, but with short-term plans, you can literally get into them any day of the year. The qualifying function, of course, is you have to pass the underwriting. You have to answer no to some significant health issue questions.
And a while ago, you mentioned that Obamacare has some limitations. Are there limitations with the short-term plans?
There are. So it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions, it doesn't cover pregnancy, and it doesn't cover prescriptions. That's typically true with all of those. With that said, the people that we put into a short-term plan fit the mold exactly for the limitations that are there. So if you have a an individual male or an individual female who's not wanting to get pregnant, doesn't really have any pre-existing conditions, not on any medications, that's a really great fit for that person, even if it's for a few months.
Right.
One of the classic examples is, hey, listen, I got a job, but my insurance doesn't start for 3 months.
Right.
Can you help me out with that? And we can.
Okay. Now, I thought there was a law that said insurance companies can't exclude you from getting health insurance because of pre-existing conditions.
That's true.
Is that true?
Yep. So those are ACA compliant plans. What we have to understand is short-term plans are not ACA compliant plans. They don't have to follow the rules, and so they don't.
Really?
Yep. So, and I get that question about 5 times a year. It's like, oh, I thought they had to take me and whatever. So they don't have to, they don't follow those rules. They're good for things. Hey, I'm a healthy person. I'm going forward with my life. And if I have something or whatever, then I'll be taken care of. If I have cancer, heart attack, or stroke, once I'm enrolled in a short-term plan, then they will take care of me. Of course, upon re-enrollment, then you wouldn't qualify for that same plan. You'd have to get an Obamacare plan.
Okay. Yep. And then is there the open enrollment for Obamacare? What's that?
Sure. So of course that's in the fall, right? So typically from November 1 to December 15 for a January 1 effective date. Our current president has extended that date line to December 15th for a February 1 effective date. The only other way you can get into Obamacare throughout the year is if you have what's called a qualifying life event, so a QLE, right?
Sure.
That's if you change geography where you live. Like if you move, say, from Kansas City to St. Louis or outside of your current network and you come into a different network, that qualifies you if your income changes significantly. If you leave a qualifying health plan, so let's say that you leave a workplace plan, you want to retire or just do something different, you can leave your workplace plan. And then you'll get what's called a letter of termination of creditable coverage. And that's a mouthful, Tom. Yeah. I understand that. But it's a very important letter that we have to prove to the federal government with that you have that QLE.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. Health insurance, by any measure, it's confusing.
It is.
How do you take the complexity out of it for your clients?
Well, I've done that for a number of years, of course. In nursing, medical, anything can be complex.
Sure.
And I just listen to what the background is of what at the time of my patients, right? In this world, I listen to what their background is and really relate health insurance to them and to what they do. And so I explain deductible, coinsurance, and all that. And
sure.
Most people are familiar with a deductible on their house, right? They are. So hey, if you need a new roof, you got maybe a $4,000 deductible. Most homeowners understand that. Also, most homeowners don't understand co-insurance.
I was going to say, is co-insurance, is that what you pay when you go see your provider?
So that's a really great question. I get that a lot. That's actually what's called a copay.
Okay.
And so that actually says that on your card. It'll say copay of $40 or $25. Yeah. Coinsurance is that dollar amount between the deductible and the max out of pocket. So let's say, for example, you have a $3,000 deductible, but a $5,000 max out of pocket. So you would meet your deductible, $3,000. You typically meet your coinsurance if you have X-rays, radiology labs, things like that, or if you go into the hospital, and then they'll say, hey, you have a 20% coinsurance on top of the deductible until you meet your max out of pocket.
Okay.
And so in business lore and pamphlets, they'll literally say, here's your deductible, here's your max out of pocket, but they never say the word co-insurance.
No, I never.
They don't. They might say you have a 20% out of pocket, whatever, until you meet your max out of pocket, but they never say the word co-insurance in like the employee handbook or anything.
Right.
So I explain that, and then I explain how it works in each of the areas. If it's Medicare, if it's the federal government plan, if it's your short-term plan, if it's my 1099 plan, I explain how you use it, when you have to call the carrier, how you do that, and I make sure each of my clients has that phone number.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, a lot of people say, "Hey, am I going to get a card?" And well, yeah, it's on the card, but I like for my patients and my clients, rather my clients,
Yeah.
to have that phone number right up front,
Okay.
in case they have any questions from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mark, thanks again for coming in and sharing
Yeah,
your knowledge with
sure.
us and sharing everything. Do you have a website or are you on Facebook?
I
Or?
wish I did. Now I do have a Facebook.
Okay.
It's Mark the Health Insurance Guy or Mark Strodtman the Health Insurance Guy.
Okay.
I honestly right now I don't look at that a lot.
Yeah.
You can even look me up just on Mark Strodtman Facebook, whatever.
Right.
I see that more often.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, the best way to get a hold of me is at my cell phone.
Okay.
And that again, that's 636-352-5202. And people send me an email sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course, emails get lost, but that's my legal first name, James. So starts with that. But that's J Strodtman. So JSTRODTMAN at myHST. But the best way is to call or text my cell phone.
Okay.
I always pick it up and I say, "Hey, hi, this is Mark. How may I help you?" I try to be pretty friendly about it.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Mark, so much for coming by.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure getting to hear everything about your business and having you here.
Well, I appreciate your time, Tom,
Yeah.
and thanks for inviting me here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.